Hey now, ladies and gentlemen. Hey now. Hey now, hey now, hey now, and hey now. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Line Talk 99.5. Glad you're here, everybody, man. Everybody's being so nice today. Excited that me and you are back, John Bird. You were technically back yesterday, but I'm assuming that you didn't talk.
No, I didn't talk
You didn't
or
say
have
a
a
single
presence
word?
online. No,
Nothing.
no, I just did my job.
You didn't even kind of pull your screen up and wave at people. Did you talk to anybody in the YouTube chat?
Maybe a little bit,
But not much.
but yeah, I was being serious, John.
Serious, John.
Mm.
Well, we're a little more immature than adults like Brian Dawson are.
Yes, that we are.
So it was a very serious time.
Very.
But nah, Brian's a good dude. I consider Brian a friend, and
I love Brian.
he always does a good job, man. He gets after it. He gets after it. So a couple things, and I know I'm going to kind of be a day late on several of these, but I've got to play some catch up, and with one of those is going to be the White House Correspondents' Dinner that I think many of you probably watched. It was the redo of the Correspondents' Dinner we did where another crazed leftist tried to kill the president and officials in his cabinet, which is something we're just all used to at this point. Sadly enough, think about it. It's a sad state of affairs when we're used to that. But I want to get into that here in a moment. First, let's get Rick on the phone line. If you want to get in, 205-545-9950. Rick, go ahead.
What a privilege. I appreciate you taking me. I know I ain't got a whole lot of education or nothing. Thank God for that, I guess.
Yeah,
I should wear that proud, shouldn't I?
that's right.
I've been
I
listening
do.
to these. I've been listening to these radio preachers. So you don't have to.
Yeah.
Man, they
Yeah.
lame, right?
What have you been hearing?
Bunch of junk, bunch of garbage. Stuff shouldn't be said. I don't think they're thinking through what they're saying.
Mm-mm.
Man, they're not focused on the problems, They're supposed to be guarding the sheep, I guess, aren't they?
Yeah, so you're talking about actual preachers that you hear like on the weekends, on Sundays that are preaching their sermon.
Yeah, all through the week.
That's an interesting point because I think you're right in the sense of there are a lot of leaders out there, church leaders, that are so adamant about shying away from issues that face this country and this planet that they won't they really miss the opportunity to talk about some things that are important. And I mean important in the sense of, our faith and religion.
Yep, Jesus didn't say be silent.
And I think the problem is, especially when you talk about larger churches, and Rick dipped out, but Rick, thank you for the call. I think a big problem is, for instance, if you take these big churches, and we've got several in our area, there are pastors that are lead pastors that are more concerned with making sure they don't step on any toes because they are trying to continue to grow the church.
Yep, keep those numbers up.
You think about the Church of the Highlands. All right, that's probably the most prominent one, right? And they're opening up campuses all over the place, and they are now spreading into different states like Georgia and elsewhere. They, because it's so big, they have people from different political backgrounds. and for us, we find it hard to put together the idea of being a leftist that loves abortion and all of these different Democrat and liberal ideals, and also being a Christian. Okay, it's hard for us to square that up, but some people do. They support the trans. They believe in the abortion and abortion rights and all this kind of stuff. And because a church is so big, they have those people in there, maybe a large number of those people in there. So that prevents them, because they're thinking, again, they've got, whether it's a board of directors or whatever that they've got to keep happy. They say, well, to avoid stepping on any toes, we'll just avoid that topic altogether. Well, you shouldn't do that as the shepherd of the flock. You should have to face. I mean, we all grew up in churches where, and in particular, small churches. Small churches, they don't give a damn. They'll get out there and they'll talk about the most controversial issues there are, because they got nothing to lose, right? They're going to give it to you straight. The bigger churches avoid that because they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to stop the growth of the church. And while, yes, the growth of the church I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, because the bigger it gets, the more people you reach, the more good things you can do, you are also, unfortunately, misleading your people. And for those that have those beliefs, they are being reinforced because they say to themselves, well, my pastor's not against these things. If he was, he would bring it up and he would say so, but he's not. And I don't think that's helpful. I don't think it's helpful for people's salvation. It's certainly not helpful for the country's survival, a country that was founded on Christianity. I think that there are far too many pastors out there that are straight missing the boat on this. And this is coming from a guy that, like, if you wanted to get into a theological debate with me on, Bible theology, well, you're probably going to win. All right. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not as well versed as a lot of people are. But at the same time, I can see it, what's in black and white here, and what should be done and what's not being done.
Mm-hmm.
And it simply comes down to honesty and what the truth of things are. And many don't want to do it. Now, there are some high-profile pastors that do talk about these issues, and they get a bad reputation. I think about one in Tennessee, the guy's name, and this is not me condoning the guy or whatever, but Pastor, God, what's his name? Greg something. Greg Locke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with him.
Greg Locke. He's up in Tennessee. He doesn't shy away from that kind of stuff. And even to give credit to Billy Ray Jesus over in Warrior, I don't think he shies away from that stuff.
Yep, Josh Howerton is another one. It's like you'll take the current events, and he'll be able to, put biblical truths with him.
Yeah, and that connects.
And they call him a Christian, nationalist, and well, if you're Christian, you're supposed to speak up when you see this.
And so that right there, because those pastors get a bad rap, that ends up keeping these larger church pastors from ever even touching the issue. Mm-hmm. If we recall, sometime in and around COVID, Pastor, what's his name slipping my mind? From Church of the Highlands, the main pastor. He was the pastor.
Chris Hodges.
Chris Hodges. I don't know why I couldn't think of Chris Hodges. I actually like Chris Hodges. I think he's a good guy. But back during COVID times, he liked one of Charlie Kirk's posts, right? He simply liked an Instagram post from Charlie Kirk. He got called out for it, and he had to apologize on the stage during a church service for liking a Charlie Kirk post because some people viewed Charlie Kirk as a racist.
I'll tell you something right there.
What? And as soon as that happened, I'm like, come on, dude. I get why he was doing it, but that didn't make it right. Like, you got to stand by your conviction. You didn't get caught cheating on your wife. You got caught liking the post of a very godly man.
Somebody speaking the truth.
That happens to speak the truth. Somebody that's speaking more truth than a lot of these pastors.
Yeah, man, when the Holy Spirit tells you to speak up, you got to speak up. And if you don't listen, there are ramifications from that.
It's awful, man. It's awful. Just wish, some of these individuals would wake up. And think about how you could connect with your congregation if you would take real-world topics of today and tie them into biblical scripture and help people make sense of what they're seeing in the world today. Because for so many people, it can be overwhelming as they listen to these news talk shows. They read the headlines. They see all this crazy stuff happening, and it gets overwhelming, and they think, we're screwed, we're this, we're that as a country. And it's like, how much clarity as a shepherd could you bring to people by addressing what's happening today? Because you can take everything that's happening today and tie it back to the Bible in one way, shape, or form. Because that's the one book that seems to have been able to predict the future, even all these years later. It still applies today. There's no other book like that. There's no other book that has been able to sustain its theology that many years later. Anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but Rick had me do it. I got to talk about Dylan I was going to talk about Dylan Mulvaney this segment. And here I am talking about biblical theology. You never know what's going to happen on the line, right? 205-545-9950. White House Correspondents' Dinner coming up next. I noticed John Cornyn talking to CNN saying we don't have the votes for the Save America Act no matter how long we stay. They're forcing them to stay for the August recess until they vote. Well, fine. Stay. Don't get your recess. You don't deserve a recess. Buddy. They're like, well, we're going to go back home and we're going to campaign. Well, campaigning doesn't matter. Doesn't mean squat if our elections aren't secure. Noto Roofing, NOTOroofing.com. I'll talk about the Save America Act a little later in the show. NOTOroofing.com. Free roof inspection, free tune-up on your roof. Come on, cuz. Why ain't you got with them yet? Here's the phone number, 205-848-2299. Write that down. I'll slow it down for you, 205-848-2299. All that information online, NOTOroofing.com. Make sure you tell them your boy Andrew Mclain sent you, and you can get squared away, my friend. So Donald Trump on fire at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and everybody's had their panties in a wad. The president is supposed to get up there and roast people. It's like a little bit of a roast. Yeah, they give out awards and blah, 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 blah. But there's a little bit of a roast goes on, and if anybody deserves to roast the press, it's Donald Trump. And one of his favorite targets of the night was one CNN's Caitlin Collins. And he said this about Caitlin after she received an award.
But I want to personally congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on receiving her award. It was all about me. It's a fake. She shouldn't get the award. It was a fake, but I didn't mind. I said, Caitlin, congratulations. But it was fake. There's no question about it. But she's a young, attractive woman. She never smiles. I said, Caitlin, do you have a smile? Smile. You have a nice position. You're at CNN Fake News. You should be a happy person. So smile, Caitlin. Just smile. But we attack, and I thought Caitlin had really made it big with a major new sponsorship. But then I informed her that it wasn't her on the Bud Light can. It was Dylan Mulvaney. And Dylan Mulvaney cost Bud Light $35 billion in market cap. That was the worst commercial ever made, by the way, for those few people that want to hear that. Most people don't care, but I would. I wouldn't want to hire Dylan anytime soon. Think of it. They hired Dylan Mulvaney, and their market cap has gone down by $35 billion. Who wrote that commercial?
I mean, that is a lot of money to lose. And you got to admit, she kind of does look like Dylan Mulvaney. It's funny. It's funny. But Dylan Mulvaney, who is an attention seeker, decided to respond to that. You know, of course, the liberals and the press, they all had their panties in a wad. And I'm like, why? I thought you guys loved trans people. Is there a reason Caitlin Collins is not taking that as a compliment? Dylan Mulvaney views it as a compliment. Why doesn't Caitlin Collins? Is it because he's comparing you to a man? Just say it. Just it. Dylan Mulvaney's a man. Dylan Mulvaney took to social media to respond and said this.
Hi, is this a good time? Well, it's definitely an interesting time because my name is Dylan Mulvaney, and the President of the United States said my name in his speech 4 times on Friday night. I couldn't respond right away because yesterday I had tickets to see Meg Stalter and O'Mary, but now I think I'd like to say a little something. Firstly, I would like to congratulate CNN's Caitlin Collins on her award and tell her that I'm incredibly honored to be compared to her in any way, and I hope that she keeps doing all the great work. Now, the president also brought up a video I did over 3 years ago, and mind you, I've been kind of flying under the radar, keeping up a pretty low profile, just like doing my little musicals, singing, dancing, and yet I am still his topic of conversation all these years later. And it seems to me that I might be like the one that got away for these men. Like I am permanently burned into their retinas. I am microchipped into their minds. And when I first heard that the president put me on his diss track, I was like, well, that's not good. Then a few weeks ago, I would have probably been more upset about this. But luckily, I was ghosted last month by a hookup who I really liked. And what I realized from that experience was that I shouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't really want to be with me. So maybe I shouldn't want to be professionally supported by an administration that doesn't personally support me or so many others in this country. Food for thought. In fact, maybe being publicly mocked and criticized by this administration is actually like the greatest compliment of all. Because it puts me in the company of some of like the most brilliant, empathetic people in our world today. But I do still wonder, like, why is it so important to them that I don't find success? Like, what is it that I have that they don't?
I know what you have that King Collins doesn't have. It's a wiener. Anyway, he'll get over it, and we'll move on. Was a funny joke, though. Shane says Mulvaney sounds like the church lady from SNL, which is ironic considering both are men pretending to be a woman. Who played the church lady? Dana Carvey?
Dana Carvey, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's just one of those things, man. Just one of those things. Hey, download the app, by the way, if y'all haven't done it yet. Download the app on your app store. Talk 99.5. Talk 99.5. Easy to find. Great app if you haven't used it lately. If you used to have it and you're like, I don't like it, it's too bulky, whatever. It's a new app. We completely revamped it. It's so easy to use now. It's the place to be. Plus, you can watch us. You can watch us live from the app, or you can just listen to us. You can also listen to any shows that you missed right there from the app. It's all easy to access. Andrew on the text line says Highlands has preached against abortion from the pulpit on Sundays many times. I can't. I mean, I haven't seen that personally, and I've seen a lot of Highlands messages, but I'm not saying that they haven't. I'm just talking about in an overall sense that a lot of these big churches do avoid those particular topics and avoid modern day topics such as, things going on in the world. Now, am I expecting them to turn into some sort of conservative news outlet? Absolutely not. But there are many things, and they know this, many things they shy away from in order to not step on toes that are biblical truths. And I don't think it's the right thing to do. But, they're in charge of it. And, you do what you want, I guess. It's just the reality. And that's not anything new. I mean, that's been going on for a very long time. But especially in this day and age where everybody feels like things are so hyper-political, again, there is no doubt that Chris Hodges apologized for liking a Charlie Kirk post. Like, that right there should have never happened. I think he should have doubled down and said, and I think it was something to do with COVID. And if you are a pastor, you've probably got real beef with the decision makers that did some of the awful things they did during COVID. Fauci and whoever else that closed down the government, that closed down churches, that convinced you to not have an Easter Sunday service. That's a problem, right? So I don't blame anybody for being mad about that or liking a post that was opposed to that. I don't remember the exact post anyway. I'm just kind of running off memory thinking it was something related to that. But anyway, not to get into that again. Side note. Let's talk about Iran, though. Very important issue. We talk about it almost daily because it changes daily. Donald Trump, as you know, we did probably 13 consecutive days of bombing, and that went up until this past Friday to where Donald Trump paused the Iran strikes and said negotiations are back on. But he says, I'm ready to go back to it with very strong military action. He said these negotiations are going to proceed very fast or not at all. So Iran is on a timeline. They don't have the ability, as they did in the past, to drag it out and do whatever they're wanting to do. He says you either get it done quick or we're going to go right back to it. U.S. forces on Thursday completed a 13th consecutive night of attacks against Iranian military capabilities in and around the Strait of Hormuz since the fighting resumed earlier this month. Attacks did not continue on Friday or through the weekend. However, as Trump says, the countries mediating negotiations between the U.S. and Iran asked him to halt the strikes. Trump told Axios in an interview yesterday, he said, "We are in very deep talks with Iran. If they don't work out, we will go back to very strong military action." He further said the attempt at diplomacy will have, quote, "not much time." He said either it goes fast or not at all. He previously said that he was weighing a massive attack on Iran, which would be bigger than ever before. I'm assuming that is still in play. Now, the decision to hold off on strikes followed U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper advising the president that the bombing campaign in the Strait of Hormuz had essentially reached its limit in degrading Iran's ability to attack ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So they believe that in large part, in the vast majority, or if maybe all of it, that everything that they had on the Strait of Hormuz that they could use militarily to attack commercial vessels had been degraded. Now, that's not to say that they don't have things within the country that they will then transport to the Strait. They have missiles and drones that they have hidden underground, but it has been incredibly depleted, and everything that they were using there at the Strait of Hormuz is essentially gone, according to this reporting. Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane also warned of depleting missile and drone interceptors to counter Iranian retaliation on U.S. bases in the region, according to the New York Times. A spokesperson declined to comment on the leak of confidential advice the general gave to the president. So we don't even know if that was actually said or not. Meanwhile, over the weekend, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen said they targeted two Aramco oil company facilities in Saudi Arabia. Now, Trump had threatened on Thursday to, quote, hold Iran responsible and inflict major military punishment upon Iran and the Houthis after they began targeting shipping routes in the Red Sea, which I believe started on Wednesday. He said, and this is before they attacked the Saudi oil facilities, he said the U.S. will hold Iran responsible in that the Houthis are a surrogate and or proxy of Iran, and major military punishment will be inflicted upon Iran and, of course, the Houthis themselves. So that's kind of the landscape for the time being, and everybody's going to get some, it sounds like, if they continue down this road. Now, a lot of people will still complain about it. They claim, well, we have no clear path. The president doesn't know what he's doing. How so? How so? It's amazing. And again, we've had these conversations over and over that people have completely dismissed the idea of why this needed to be done. Take Trump out of it. Take Israel out of it. Take Saudi Arabia. Take everybody out of it. There is no denying that this regime has been a threat to the world for almost 50 years. There's no denying that. You can debate until you're blue in the face, but that does not change. Also, what does not change is the death of Americans and American military service members for years at the hands of the Iranians. Not debatable. Also, what's not debatable is the fact that this issue, a very real issue, and an issue that all politicians addressed, was never handled by previous presidents. Even when approaching the issue and trying to find a resolution, Barack Obama only exacerbated the issue. He actually viewed Iran as the good guys, so went in the opposite direction and gave them everything they wanted and made up a bunk Iranian nuclear deal that meant as much as the paper it's written on. They say, yeah, well, we've got inspectors that go here or go there. But where they were actually working to build their nuclear weapons, do y'all know under the JCPOA that inspectors were not allowed to go to that part? Inspectors were not allowed to go to the nuclear facilities, which would be the main reason you would want a nuclear deal in the first place. Yeah. It was all for show. It was like, oh, we got an Iranian nuclear deal. Look at Obama go. He negotiated a deal, and we're going to make sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. All the while, they were building a nuclear weapon, or they were enriching uranium the whole time. And when inspectors wanted to go look and said enriched uranium, they said, no, that's not part of the deal. That's not within the JCPOA. You can't look at that. You can go look at this other stuff, but you can't look at this part. That's the reality. Now, why would Iranians, the IRGC, the mullahs, whoever, why would they be so opposed to inspectors going to see that? Because they were building a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. It doesn't take a whole lot of brain cells to piece all this together. But people have it in their minds, and I get it. You know, people as humans have preconceived notions that come into play with certain topics. And in this situation, for many, your preconceived notion is Israel bad, government of Israel bad. Some people even let that bleed off into just Jewish people are bad. You know, if that's your thing, whatever. It's a bad look, but be my guest. And so no matter what happens, what decisions are made, what's happening behind the scenes, or what's right and what's wrong, or how much a threat Iran actually is, it's going to go back to Israel. Everything ties back to Israel. And there has been a resurgence of this, especially among younger people. And by younger, I mean anywhere from late teens to late 40s, of people pointing the finger at Israel for all of our problems. Even people that support Trump or previously supported Trump, they believe Israel is the source of all our problems. Now, is Israel our greatest ally that could never do no wrong? Absolutely not. But they're not the source of all of our problems. There are evil people that reside in this country. We call them Democrats, that are the source of a lot of our problems. And while Israelis and government officials, people within Netanyahu's cabinet, while yes, they want to influence U.S. policy, while yes, AIPAC spends a tremendous amount of money on both Democrats and Republicans, that is what all these countries do to each other. Is it right? No, it's not right. Should it happen? I don't think so. Would it be cool if AIPAC was, designated a, foreign influence campaign or a foreign PAC? Yeah, I'd be good with that, because their intentions is to push policies and pay politicians to sign into law policies that benefit Israel. And that does not always benefit the United States of America. I don't like that. But not everything goes back to them. And no, Trump is not a puppet of Bibi Netanyahu. Now, ironically, Netanyahu is at the White House today, and they're meeting. This comes on the heels of some comments that were made aboard Air Force One. And they were related to a question that was asked by a reporter, which was in regards to a deal that Trump had made with the leadership in Turkey. He had decided that we are going to sell F-35 jets to Turkey, and that we had a good enough relationship with them at this point that it would be beneficial to both them and us here in the U.S. Well, Netanyahu doesn't like that. He doesn't like that because Turkey's government doesn't like Netanyahu. Like many in the Middle East, they're not fans. And so Netanyahu, for understandable reasons, is saying, no, you shouldn't do that. Now, he may have contacted Trump personally, and I can almost guarantee you that as he's at the White House today, he's going to be telling Trump just that. Please do not sell these F-35s to Turkey. That would be detrimental to us. He even says that it will destabilize the region in a massive way. And so when Trump was asked about those comments from Netanyahu, he said this.
Mr. Netanyahu opposes sending F-35s to Turkey. Are you going to tell him?
Look, Turkey's been a great ally for me. You know, I think he's done a very good job. Did a good job with Syria. He's a friend of mine, and nobody tells me what we should be selling and not. Turkey's been a tremendous ally for me. It was up to Turkey. Turkey's not a big fan of Israel. You know that, right? And not a big fan of Bibi. But they've been great for me. Turkey has been great. Very powerful country, by the way. Tremendous military, very big military, very powerful military. Has a lot of great equipment.
But he says, nobody tells me what we should be selling or not. He basically says, well, I hate it for Bibi, but he's not going to tell me what I can and can't do. And so that'll be a point of contention today that maybe, I don't know if they're going to be sitting in front of the press speaking as he normally does when guests arrive at the White House. I hope they do. I'd like to see that topic come up. See, this all stems from earlier this month. Netanyahu appeared on CNN with Dana Bash. And this was hours after Trump said he would sell the F-35s to Turkey during the NATO summit in Ankara, which was overturning a ban from his first term. Originally, in the first Trump term, he said, "No, we're not gonna do anything like that. We're not gonna sell F-35s to Turkey." Netanyahu said during this interview, he said he's not exactly a model ally of the United States, asserting that the move doesn't make Turkey a friendly state to the United States. It would destroy the power balance in the Middle East. This is not a force for peace and stability. When you give them that power, you're going to see aggression in its wake. And so Trump responds with, as you just heard, Turkey's been a great ally for me. I think he's done a very good job, and a good job with Syria. He's a friend of mine. He said, nobody tells me what we should be selling or not. Turkey's been a tremendous ally for me. Now, personally, is this a good move to sell F-35s to Turkey? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But I'll tell you one thing. I trust Trump to make the right call on this. All right, we got a couple minutes to go until hour 3. Let me squeeze in Nate real quick. Nate, what's up?
Hey, did you say Nate?
Yeah, Nate.
Hey, yeah. So, did you hear about the dump they're about to do in 2027 of the MLK files and the audio of him possibly listening to somebody get, you know?
I know that recently Timber Chat was in a hearing about the MLK. I'm sorry, MK Ultra information related to the MK Ultra files. But no, I haven't heard anything specific about a date for a dump on those files.
Yeah, 2027. I was reading on the internet. So, I don't know. Pretty interesting. Also, do you have kids?
I do.
You got a son? I'm assuming, or?
Yeah, I've got a 16-year-old.
Well, if your son was kicked out of 109 bars, would you consider it your son's fault or the bar's fault?
109 bars. I mean, I assumed that it would probably be his fault.
You say your son's got a problem, or it's something to do with the bars?
Yeah, I guess it depends on what bars he's going to, but I'd have to have some more information on that.
Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries around the world.
I got you. And he hangs up. Got you. You don't like the Jews. I get it, buddy.